Okay, just when you think things might quiet down in the sports world, something like this just explodes, right?
Yeah, it really does.
We're jumping straight into a pretty major legal fight today. The lawsuit against former NFL star Shannon Sharpe. This one's definitely caught everyone's eye.
Absolutely. And our goal here, in this deep dive is to really try and dissect what's happening. We've gathered quite a bit of material to get a clearer view. There's a document from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals,
Okay.
some background info from the U.S. Court's website explaining how things work, plus those Reddit discussions
Hmm.
on Reticulture and NFL.
Always lively there?
Oh, yeah. And then news reports from places like Fox News, The Source, Times of India, NBC Sports, CBS News. So a real mix.
A broad range, good.
Yeah, we're trying to really understand the core issues here, what's actually at play.
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of it then. The allegations. What exactly is Shannon Sharpe being accused of here?
Well, the main thing is this civil lawsuit, right? It was filed in Nevada State Court, and they're seeking a huge amount, $50 million in damages.
50 million, wow.
Yeah, and the accusations themselves are very serious. We're talking assault, sexual assault, battery, sexual battery, and also intentional infliction of emotional distress.
Heavy charges. And who's representing the person making these claims?
That's another significant point. It's Tony Busby. The source mentioned he's known for handling other really high-profile sexual misconduct cases.
Right, that name definitely rings a bell.
And you could see how fast this hit the public radar. Those Reddit threads, era pop culture, RNFL, they lit up almost immediately.
Yeah, no surprise there. Okay, but here's where it gets, well, really interesting, I think. Sharpe himself hasn't exactly been quiet, has he?
Not at all.
So what's his response been? What's the strategy looking like from his side?
Well, initially, he came out publicly denying everything, called the lawsuit a shakedown, actually. That was reported in the Times of India.
A shakedown. Pretty strong language.
Very. But then his lawyer, Lanny Davis, revealed something pretty surprising. Also reported by the Times of India, apparently,
Yeah.
Sharpe had offered a settlement of at least $10 million. And this was before the lawsuit went public.
Hold on, a $10 million offer before it was filed.
That's what was reported.
Okay, that feels like a really crucial piece of information. It sort of complicates just a flat-out denial, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
It raises some big questions,
Like what?
Well, if you're completely innocent, if you believe the claims are totally baseless, why offer such a massive sum? $10 million to settle privately.
Right.
The Times of India piece pointed this out. It creates this tension, a real conflict with the public statement saying it's all false.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, maybe trying to avoid the public spectacle, even if he thinks he's innocent.
That's one possible read on it, yeah.
Mm.
Avoiding the media storm, the damage to reputation, even if you plan to fight it eventually. It's complex.
It really is. It's like, I did nothing wrong, but here's millions to make this disappear. It just doesn't quite mesh on the surface.
Exactly. And Sharpe, well, he has his own version of events he's pushing.
Oh, what's he saying?
He actually went on Instagram claiming this whole thing is a deliberate setup.
Yeah.
And he specifically named Tony Busby as orchestrating it.
A setup. Wow.
Yeah, and he went further, accused Busby of, targeting high-profile black men, and alleged there was a plan to release an edited sex tape.
An edited tape. That's a serious counter-accusation. The Times of India covered this.
They did, and Sharpe actually, publicly,
Yeah.
challenged Busby.
Yeah.
Said, go on, release the whole tape unedited.
Bold, a very aggressive stance.
Yeah.
And his legal team, are they just defending or going on offense too?
They're definitely planning to fight back hard. Fox News reported that his lawyer confirmed they'll be filing a counterclaim.
So, suing the accuser back.
Essentially, yes. Accusing her of making, quote, willful and vicious accusations. And the defense team has described her lawsuit, again according to Fox News, as a blatant and cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe for millions of dollars.
Shakedown, again, they're really sticking to that narrative.
Seems to be the core of their public strategy, yes.
Okay, this is aried a lot. But you mentioned earlier that Fifth Circuit Court document. That sounded like a totally separate thing. How does that fit in?
It is a separate case, yeah, but it's important context, I think. It shows Sharpe's history with defamation lawsuits specifically.
Ah, okay.
So this document, case 23-60610, it's about a defamation suit Sharpe himself filed earlier in Mississippi State Court.
Mm-hmm.
And the Fifth Circuit, that's a federal appeals court, they review decisions from lower federal courts. So this document tells us about how that prior case played out.
Got it. So what was that lawsuit about? Who did he sue?
He sued another former player, someone he apparently co-hosted a talk show with, or maybe just another media personality. The suit was triggered by comments this other person made, linking Sharpe to that big Mississippi welfare fund scandal, the one involving stolen government money meant for poverty relief.
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah.
Big scandal.
Huge. And according to this court document, the person Sharpe sued allegedly said Sharpe was, involved in some shady stuff.
Okay.
That he grossly mismanaged the money, acted like a diva, engaged in egregious behavior, even illegal acts. Pretty strong stuff.
Wow, yeah, those sound very damaging. Directly accusing him of mishandling funds and illegal activity. So what happened with that suit? Did Sharpe win?
No, actually. The
Okay.
district court ended up dismissing Sharpe's defamation suit.
Dismissed. Why?
Their reasoning, laid out in the Fifth Circuit document, was that the comments were essentially rhetorical hyperbole.
Rhetorical hyperbole, meaning?
Meaning like exaggerated trash talk or opinion that a reasonable person wouldn't take as a literal statement of fact. They ruled it was protected opinion, not defamation.
Interesting. So the court basically said he was talking smack, not stating facts.
That's a way to put it, yeah. And it seems the court looked beyond just the words spoken, too.
How so?
Well, the document says the district court took judicial notice of news articles about the Mississippi scandal.
Judicial notice, meaning they just accepted the news reports as factual background?
Pretty much. It's a legal shortcut. If something is widely known and easily verified, the court can accept it as true without needing formal proof. In this case, that included reports about over $1.1 million in TNF funds. That's the welfare money going to this Mississippi Community Education Center. And, crucially, a separate $1.1 million payment to Sharpe.
Okay, so the court acknowledged the reporting about him receiving money connected to that whole situation when deciding the defamation case?
Exactly. Which might have played into why they saw the comments as opinion or hyperbole rather than pure defamation.
So if we connect this back to what's happening now, what's the takeaway? It shows he's willing to sue over his reputation.
That's definitely one takeaway, yes. He's not afraid to go to court when he feels he's been defamed. It also, shows that his name is publicly tied to a pretty significant controversy involving public money before. That background context might influence how people see these current allegations, fairly or unfairly.
Right, context is everything.
And just briefly, the U.S. court system info we looked at just reminds us this is the framework for handling these kinds of disputes. Civil cases, like the current one against Sharpe and the previous defamation one he filed, all go through this established legal process.
Okay, that's helpful background. Now let's shift back to the present day. What's been the reaction in the media and, publicly, especially now that this settlement offer thing is out there?
Well, that settlement offer news definitely added a new wrinkle. The big one, the Times of India reported that ESPN, where Sharpe is obviously a big voice on First Take, seemed to be taking a kind of wait-and-see approach initially, sort of letting it blow over while he stayed on air.
Right, business as usual for a bit.
Yeah. But learning about a multi-million-dollar offer before the suit was public, that could really ramp up the pressure on ESPN, on sponsors.
You can imagine the branding implications.
Exactly. It just puts everything under a much harsher spotlight, makes the wait and see harder maybe.
And what about online? You mentioned Reddit earlier. What's the vibe there?
Oh, it's all over the place, as you'd expect. On Or Pop Culture, RNFL, you see tons of discussion. People are debating the accuser's motives, definitely. Talking about Sharpe's whole public persona, Club Shay or Shay and all that. And lots of comparisons to other high-profile cases, naturally. There's also chatter about Tony Busby, his track record, his methods.
So a real mix of opinions. Skepticism, concern.
Yeah, definitely. Skepticism about the accuser, sure, but also real concern about the seriousness of the charges themselves. And people are analyzing Sharpe's response to the shakedown claims, the denial versus the settlement offer that's getting debated heavily. Fox News and NBC Sports also highlighted how Sharpe's team is pushing that extortion angle hard, and that's definitely part of the online conversation too.
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together. It's a lot.
It really is.
We've got these extremely serious sexual assault allegations against Shannon Sharpe.
Right.
We have his very strong public denials calling it a shakedown.
Yeah.
But then there's this bombshell revelation, really, of a prior $10 million plus settlement offer before the lawsuit.
That's the huge complicating factor.
And his legal team is gearing up for a counterclaim, framing the whole thing as extortion.
Correct.
Plus, we have this background context of his previous defamation lawsuit related to that Mississippi funding scandal. It's incredibly messy.
It's a very intricate situation, no doubt. A real tangle of accusations, denials, legal moves, and we're clearly still in the early stages. The legal process has a long way to go. Yeah. And that apparent contradiction, right, the big settlement offer versus the absolute denial of wrongdoing. That's really the crux of it right now, fueling so much speculation. It raises fundamental questions about the strategies involved.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive for today, what's the big thing you think people should be mulling over here?
I think this case really throws a spotlight on the complex dynamics when celebrity, serious allegations, and huge sums of money collide in the legal system. How do we, as the public, make sense of a situation where someone offers millions to potentially make something go away, while simultaneously insisting they did absolutely nothing wrong?
It's a tough one.
It really is. What does it tell us about the pressures, the calculations involved for everyone? It pushes you to think more deeply about civil suits, about settlements versus fighting in court, and just the immense challenge of figuring out the truth when you have these powerful, conflicting stories playing out so publicly. Definitely leaves you with a lot to think about regarding how these battles unfold.